There was one student today who asked, there's a whole bunch of given terms associated with this topic that we're learning. Are we expected to memorize these things? And I just thought to myself, how can you ask that just say that sentence out loud? Of all the given terms, are we going to need to memorize any of them?
Do we need to learn this? Why the fuck am I teaching it to you?
Yeah. Right. Well, whatever. All right, so
welcome to podcast number 6.
Yep.
Which, by some definitions, is what, like our 10th
number 5
podcast in some ways
knows?
of miscounting. If you include
the
old Sadcast things that have the same
is
cast.
Atrocious.
You don't need continuity. It's people talking about stuff.
That's true.
People react to number 5 like it's the first one ever uploaded.
Yeah, there's still probably people that would tune into any given video.
Oh, yeah.
On any given channel and be like, whoa, have you ever done any of these before?
Oh, yeah, people are going to watch every single
playing,
episode and be like, I can see your faces! It's never happened before. You're shattering my mind.
Yeah, so this is a... this is going to be a fairly off-the-cuff one, I guess we should say.
Oh, yeah.
Just throw that out there right now.
Because we were getting
a lot of things that we were planning on doing aren't, for various reasons. Like, for one, you might notice that we're missing a fourth voice.
Oh, yeah, Andrew disappeared into the ether. He just...
yeah.
He's just not here for some reason. And Wandered didn't see Zootopia, so that's out. You monster.
I have not had time. I have so many games I need to record, man.
So maybe next week. So this is the last episode of the podcast recorded before Dark Souls 3 comes out.
Right, yeah.
Which has major implications. It's going to come out after Dark Souls 3 comes out, probably, to be much confusion. But no, none of us have played it yet. So we look forward to talking about that too much in episode 7, I think.
This episode is not going to come out.
As well as while we're playing it, too. We're probably going to just turn that into half podcast, half watch Bird die.
Excuse
and then
me.
Go from there. I've seen your track record.
Just as bad at this game.
I've seen your track record.
You all would be just as bad because it's not like you're naturally going to be great at Dark Souls 3. It's going to be a new game for you guys too.
I am remembering the DLC for Dark Souls 2, and you were substantially more killable than I was.
I will probably be comically more effective than both of you at this game.
Yeah, Keith is going to never die. I'm going to die occasionally, and Bird, you're Spider, but like not Spider because Spider was like truly bad, and you're like, yeah.
If it goes through the trend that has happened previously with Dark Souls 2 and Bloodborne, I'm primarily going to die because I'm utterly shocked by how much shorter the health bar is for co-op partners.
I really hope they don't do that again.
We went a long time without noticing that existed.
Yeah. So it's dropping tomorrow.
Nah.
Right?
Like I think we had to play Bloodborne to realize that because we went into a boss fight and the Bloodstarved Beast would literally one-shot me, and I didn't know that was possible.
Yes.
And then I had to backstep that information and be like, wait a minute, my health bar is smaller than normal. And then I went back to Dark Souls 2 and realized it was always happening this way. Oh my god!
Oh no, Dark Souls 3 is dropping on Tuesday.
Yes,
right?
It's dropping on Tuesday, but
Monday
what
night,
hour of Tuesday?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
Yeah,
which hour during the day?
Like I can probably play at 9 o'clock at night on Monday, judging by the trends that often happen.
It drops tomorrow night.
Yeah. Oh. At like
22
midnight?
hours. No. So tomorrow at 6 p.m. for you and I.
Whoa, 3 o'clock in the afternoon for me.
Actually, if you guys wanted to do the first hour of co-op, we could do it at like 11 o'clock midnight. Because that'll give Keith plenty of time.
It's like Tales of Zestiria, where it's so far off on its time zone, it's basically lying about its release date.
It's European midnight.
Yeah, but still.
European midnight? What is it, like a metric hours and stuff? Like, we have 10 hours in a day over in Europe.
Let's just release it on Japanese
there are
midnight.
multiple time zones there, but I think they're going off of like Germany or something.
It's basically the capital of Europe.
Isn't Germany further past GMT? Like plus GMT?
Yeah, I think Germany's 6 hours ahead of us, which is why it's dropping at 6 p.m. for Bird and I, and 3 in the afternoon for you.
Jeez,
lucky bastard.
Yeah, that's just the day before the release date for me. Like at that point, it's functionally a different release date. Like Steam games normally launch at 10 o'clock in the morning in my time zone, so that's only 5 hours later, and they're calling it the next day.
Well, to be fair, this is a bit of a blessing though, because then the next day we've got Ratchet and Clank, Stories Path of Destinies. I've got some post-apocalyptic thing, and there's one other
Shocking
that I'm
number
forgetting.
of things coming out the same day as Dark Souls.
It's so stupid. Like.
I mean, people are just going to open their wallets. It's just hoteling, dude. But with release dates. I don't know if that's actually a sound economic principle or not.
It's like when stuff like Tomb Raider came out the same day as Fallout 4, or Smurfs comes out at the same time as anything.
Smurfs movie burn, I think.
Probably most of these things will be totally fine, but it's just like, it's such a, like, from a consumer perspective, it's such a, like, maddening thing to have a bunch of games that you want to have to play to come out on the same day, and it's even worse as YouTubers, so, like, maybe I'm blowing this out of proportion, but it's like, I'm already just, like, sleep-deprived and stressed because I've been generating so much content to be ready for these things that it's just uncomfortable.
I'm just resigned to the fact that when something like Dark Souls comes by and like a goddamn wrecking ball, it just will ruin other release schedules for other shows, and I'll just accept that because I get to play a Dark Souls game. I'm the one that goes absurd lengths to be like, 4 videos today, fuck it, it's Dark Souls, I'm playing it all day.
So the other thing is, not a release date, it's a week after, but I've got exclusive access to a game, like a whole 2 weeks early, and nobody else does. So I'm like trying to capitalize on that as hard as I can.
The fun secret is it a game people care about?
Yes. Well, I don't know how well it's going to do. Like, I don't know how popular it's going to be, but it's actually pretty good. It's like if you crossed a 4X strategy game with a JRPG, just in terms of, like, you know, the Final Fantasy battle style.
Is this that apocalyptic thing you were talking about?
No. It's Halcyon 6. I think I told you about it. But you've got, like, nice spaceships and stuff. It's really fun to play. It's also not balanced great. So
you did tell me about this. Yes, now I remember. It's
one of those where I'm just being inundated with aliens until I die, and I'm like, well, I'm having fun doing this, but please just let me have a break now. Because you have all these, like, little colonies you're supposed to defend, and you've got your own base. And if you go out defending colonies, the alien ships will sneak up and start blowing up your base. And then you run back and fix that, and then they start blowing up your colonies. And so, by the end of it, you're like, your ships are, like, extremely powerful, but you don't move any faster and you don't have any more, because there's kind of a hard cap on how many ships you can have. So eventually, the way you lose is all of the people on your station are dead. That's it. Like, you just can't play anymore, because all of the, like, guys...
So there's no, like, win condition for this game?
No, there's a win condition. Like, it's got a story mode. It's just so brutally difficult that it's like, well, we'll come back to this later. So I did a 2-hour recording earlier today of the game. I had fun. I was kicking ass, but, you know, eventually it just became too much. I stopped playing. I'm like, okay, you know, I'll restart, or you'd figure it out for next time. Because every time I play through, I do it in a more efficient manner. Just like any 4X strategy game, honestly. And I got a nice little email from the developer saying, don't record. We're going to be patching the game tomorrow to make it much more balanced and easier to play. And I'm like, son of a bitch.
Time to tell you that you wasted your time.
How many hours have you sunk into it?
2 hours. I'm just going to put a disclaimer. Yeah, I'm going to put a disclaimer at the beginning of those videos being like, so they patched this. So, like, I'm going to whine about a lot of things because I'm getting my ass kicked.
Is that a good idea, though? People turn on you so hard when you whine about things.
The dialogue was moving so fast in the intro cutscene that I actually started flipping past it because I was just, like, reading half of it and then stopping, and people got mad at me for that too. And I'm just like, you can pause.
Oh yeah, I saw that comment. Oh
yeah, I
clicked
went
on this
back
video
and they
before.
were right.
I didn't notice.
I went back and looked, and I did skip past the dialogue, but it was like if the Star Wars, like, scroll thing went, like, 3 times as fast, so it's like, like, that's how it felt. So I was just like, all right, I'm just going to skip past this, because I'd like to know, but I personally can't read it out loud, and instead of me just babbling here for, like, 2 minutes, we'll just get past and go back to it when they slowed it down. So hopefully they fix that too for the next patch.
This game totally has like the vaguely like the sort of like hyper detailed ish pixel art like you get from like a Hyperlight Drifter or something, but it's like a 2D like with this party of 3 fighting this party of 3 in turn-based combat.
Yeah, it's actually really fun.
Starbase Commander.
Yep.
I see.
This is
Yes.
an unexpected sight.
It's
It kind
also
of looks
got-
like Steriden.
Yeah, it does.
Visually.
That's
Looks
what
exactly
drew
like
me to it.
Steriden.
yeah.
That's what drew me to it originally. But one of the neat things about it is you can make an enemy bleed, and if somebody's bleeding, you can exploit that and like hit them for massive damage. Kind of worked that way in Darkest Dungeon, if I remember. It's been a while. But I really like that system because it's not just like, oh, they're bleeding for the next 3 turns. It's like, no, if you hit them with this move at the end of their bleed, not only did they take, have they taken all the bleed damage, but then you hit them for like 300 damage on top of it all, and it, it ruins ships. It's really fun to do, but it just needs some work. But I'm really excited for it. It's fun to play and
Oh,
pretty.
cool. Yeah, it does look very nice.
And one of the
So
reasons
I guess
kinda-
that nicely segues into one of the first games we were going to talk about today. This is
Hyper?
Hyper Light Drifter. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
Talking
yeah.
about nice looking pixel art. I mean,
Yep. It's
Dang.
stunningly gorgeous. The music is great. Keith hates it.
It's a good game, but it doesn't.
I guess that's called a prenopsis. I don't really know how to describe what that was, Wander.
I have issues with Hyper Light Drifter where it should not probably be out yet. Like, there's just
It's been in
significant parts of
development
it.
for like what, like 4 years though?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean it's done. Unfortunately,
Unfortunately,
it's
yeah.
like
It does
when
feel
Witness
like it
was
needed a
developed for
little
8
bit
years,
more.
you're like, I see why it was. But when this game was developed for how long it was, you're like, but it's only this long and it has this many problems already. It seems weird. Like, it wants to be an exploration game, but a lot of the
There's
exploration
not
does
much to
come
explore.
down to just rubbing your face against every single wall until one of them gives out and turns out to be a secret. And
Yeah.
like, that's where half like the content of the game is. It's not like some rare thing that happens. It's like the majority of the game's content is hidden behind secret walls, basically.
And I feel like some of the execution of like if you explore, you find like cool new like content or whatever. Like what I was talking about with Borderlands the other day, like exploration and finding content for the sake of finding content. A lot of that is just kind of like, I don't know, you just like end up in like a slightly different looking place, and then it doesn't feel like you
guess-
actually discovered anything new about the world.
I wish they either had like more like survival arenas or like not quite secret dungeons but unlockable dungeons, kind of like if you get the hook shot you can get over to this secret dungeon, and if you go through that you get new clothes, they give you this new effect. I don't like the fact that all of the like cool stuff, the things you can find are just hidden behind like secret walls that you have to shove your face into.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know
I feel like
what they were
did a bit of a
thinking,
misstep.
honestly.
I feel like one of the
that's
core
so
differences here
badly
is that,
designed.
like in a game like Dark Souls 3, I mean, Dark Souls 2, I haven't played Dark Souls 3. In a game like Dark Souls 2, there's secrets everywhere, but playing like through the areas is how you find all the boss fights, and it's how you get through the majority of the content. But there's just little secrets everywhere, so that if you stumble into it, like, oh, there's a weird sword here that has like a weird statue head attached to it, and like there's weird little quirks there, like if I happen to go down that little corner. But it doesn't feel like, oh man, I missed everything by not going there. It just feels like, oh, there was something neat to reward me for finding that thing. But in Hyper Light Drifter, the entire progression system is telling you constantly, like, there are 8 triangles in each of these dungeons. There's 20 keys in this game. There's some untold number of stat points for you to pick up throughout the game. There's these weird glyphs somewhere hidden away, and they do something maybe. And so, like, so much of the game is about collecting these things that you just have no tools to find, more or less, besides just being incredibly thorough all the time. Or, like, I think 90% of people are going to do ultimately is just look up a guide online.
Yeah.
Like, the keys are one of the
wonder-
worst offenders, because unless you're keeping active track, and I'm just assuming there's an even distribution in the first place, it just tells you how many keys you have in the entire game.
Yeah.
It's like, there's 20, and you have 3. There's 4 dungeons. Good luck. Well, I'm
I
like,
wonder
which one still has ones to find? I don't know.
Yeah. I wonder then if we're going to see, like, I mean, I personally am hoping for this, but I would like to see, like, a move for video games to move away from having progress and completion bars, like, just as a thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I remember Jonathan Blow was talking about the inclusion of the percentage completion in his AMA about The Witness, and he said that, for one, he hated it, but he felt like he had to include it, but he was just like, man, how do you, like, measure progress through a game? It's not like you say, like, oh, I've 80% experience this book or this movie or whatever.
Yeah.
Well,
And I totally agree.
His
You
solution
can
was to make
totally
it very literal and
put
just
that
say you
together in
solved
your
this many
head.
puzzles.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I
But is that
like
the point?
I like games when they say you select an area and it says you have 5 out of 6 of X, and it lists the collectibles. If you pull up a little collectible window, that way you've missed it. Ratchet and Clank does that with the golden screws. This isn't even a spoiler. This is totally a thing, even though technically embargo. But so it says, this planet has 1 golden screw you haven't found yet. Go find it. And I like it when it does that. It doesn't tell me anything more than this is you need to go this direction.
Because you at least have some direction of where to look. At the very
because
least.
I know with Hyperlight Drifter, I need 2 more of those monuments, and at this point I've just resorted to a guide because I've been through all 4 areas now, and I have no idea where the remaining 2 are going to be. It's not like there were any big hallmarks, like a locked door that I was like, oh, I need this special thing to get this open so I can come back later. It's not like the standard Metroidvania where you're like, I know I need to get here, but I have no idea how to get in here yet because I don't have the right power-up. It doesn't do that. It's just
You'll find it's some weird-looking door thing that has blue eyeballs or something, and later on you get the super sword stab, and to get it you stab through a door with blue eyeballs, and you're like, I got it. Thank you, video game.
I
Nothing
like that so much more.
Hyperlight Drifter. Nothing like that.
I feel like Hyperlight Drifter could have been improved just by having a different key system altogether. Because they have a weird system where
I can see that, yeah.
There's doors throughout the entire game that just have a requirement of you need 7 keys to do this door, basically.
Yeah.
So you're like, I need a level 7 key. It's like you could find that could be the first door you ever find, for all you know. I got lucky and the first door I ever found required 1 key, so I got this false idea for a little while that you were scaling key difficulty based on what order I did dungeons in or something, but that's not the case.
No. Honestly, it almost felt
when you hit a level 17
artificial.
key door, you're like, what the hell, man?
Yeah. I found the 24 key door first. So
I feel like the game
I found a 4 key door first.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Which would require you to basically 100% complete an entire dungeon to find.
Yeah, that's what I ended up doing.
Yeah.
I completed a dungeon before I could open up the door, and
I feel like it would have been better just to have
more
blue doors. Blue door, green door, red door. Oh, better find that color.
Yeah, so if you find the red key somewhere, that'd be great.
And then if you find doors you can't open, you're like, oh, I know which key I'm missing.
It's true. It's a little bit.
Instead of I'm missing 16 keys.
I also wish that the keys, instead of just being in weird secret locations, I'm okay with maybe a couple of those being there. I really liked when you went south, you had those 4 mini bosses instead of 1 big boss. I would have loved way more of those just spread out over the game, and that's how you got the keys and stuff.
Because those
mini bosses were my favorite part of the game. Yeah.
Period.
I mean, I liked the encounter design. Hyperlight Drifter did really good encounter design. It got frustrating if you had to repeat an area, but the first time through, it was fun playing through that game, and frustrating, but it's the placement to the shooters, the dudes that pop up, it never really felt like it was just let's just throw 10 enemies at them.
There were a few
usually
hiccups. They're sort of ambushy moments that weren't quite fair sometimes.
Yeah, those were kind of frustrating.
The first thing that comes to mind is if you go north in the lake region, you get ambushed by toads that will actually throw shurikens at you the moment you enter the screen.
Yes,
which seems cheap.
I know what you're talking about.
I haven't reached that region yet.
And then in the south area, there's a secret door you can randomly walk through, walk into this dark spot of the wall.
Yep.
Oh, I'm in the wall now.
I know that one.
You get attacked by 6 things inside the wall, and you're like, I can't see anything right now. Why would you do this?
For me, the first 2 areas I went were north and then west, which I think are the best designed areas in the game. East is the prettiest, but north with the shooty birds with the low health, and then the bigger ones with the weird AoEs. I felt like that had the most interesting unit distribution, and because a lot of them were ranged. Oh yeah, and the birds that would dive at you, that made the combat a lot more desperate because you have to be out of the way of the birds, but you also have to take things out because you start getting mobbed too fast. I felt like that felt really quality, and same thing with the West, just because you had the dogs, you had the 2 different types of, what were they, monkeys? I always thought they were fox people.
I don't know. It's just to interrupt you for a second here. I just want to point out that talking about the enemies in this game is hilarious because no matter what you do, you say oh, that dog just shot me and stupid
that
stuff
crystal
like that.
Dog that tried to suicide on me.
I keep calling them divey birds and dogs with machine guns, and that's what they look like and what they are. But it makes me sound like an idiot.
Raging Bull Audrey 2.
Yeah. Anyway, keep continuing your point.
I just felt like those areas were the most well designed. Actually, no, the South had some pretty good design ones. Those dudes with rocket launchers and the mechs made things really hard. But at that point, I had the shotgun, so all I do is just like zip around next to somebody, blast them with the shotgun, and hopefully I took out a whole crowd that way. Also, the grenades are nuts. I'm kind of mad at myself for not buying a grenade earlier in the game, because holy hell would that have helped.
Is it just me, or did the shotgun kind of throw the balance of the game out of whack really fast?
It did. So I actually am missing 3 guns, because I didn't go back and... I think I went back and got 1, but I'm still missing 2 of them. One of them dropped from the Western boss, and I just left it there because I didn't notice it was there, and then played for like 4 more hours. So I've got episodes after episodes where people are like, go get that gun! Why haven't you got that gun yet? I'm like...
You can like just skip boss pickups on accident? That's pretty
dumb.
funky.
I know.
Yeah, that's super uncalled for.
That's why I like
nothing
treasure
about
chests
the game
where
forces
it's
you to pick up
obvious.
their experience or anything.
Yeah.
Jeez.
But I don't care because I've got the shotgun and the line rifle, and everything else seems redundant because the line rifles I use for puzzle solving and the shotgun I use for murdering everything. So it's like I don't see the
way. Like I don't know if there's secret weapons I never found, but one's a spread shotgun that does absurd damage at point blank range, which is the whole reason to have it. One is the line rifle, which is like it's like a rail gun. Like it's used for triggering specific things only it can, and it does high damage at perfect range and everything, and it has instantaneous attack.
I think it does just flat 2 damage across the board, but it's pretty. It's useful.
But everything else is just a variant of the pistol. It seems where it's just it shoots projectiles one at a time that have travel time and everything.
There's one rifle that's kind of like the shotgun that fires 4 homing bolts. But I don't like it because it's like the shotgun, and I'd just rather use the shotgun. Like it's kind of the midpoint between the line rifle and the shotgun. Like if you put the two together ish, but it doesn't do as much damage and shotgun. Oh yeah, it doesn't have as much ammo capacity either. So I'm like, I'm not going to be using this.
Did you ever feel like you had trouble with trying to press a button that's supposed to do one of your character's actions and just not having it do the thing sometimes?
Yes.
Like,
I have that so much when I'm dodging.
Oh god, grenade now. Grenade,
I had that
grenade,
issue,
grenade. Please grenade.
Even in my fairly limited time with the game of it eating inputs, especially with dodging, dashing, stuff like that.
I really wish the dash was...
Yeah.
I wish the dash had like a much bigger sweet spot so you could like... Yeah. Sometimes I will be like pressing the button in. As far as I'm concerned, Keith, have you gone through the spike pit area where you have to never stop dashing to get through the corridors, or no? It's the Western
been to locations where you have to keep dashing to make it through.
It's the Western 8 triangle challenge area. You get a green sword and a cape or something.
I gave up.
Okay,
I literally gave up on the game and just went and beat it because I couldn't deal with trying to complete it anymore.
I'm completing it just because I got a guide open and I kind of want to, but I might give up too.
My game's so broken I have to fight the game to keep playing it in some of the regions.
I was so happy to actually get access to it once they fixed that goddamn black screen bug.
Yeah.
Then I'm just like, all right, I'm going to go back to completionism because I like looking at things.
Like for those that don't know, what broke me on this game was just that I was already getting super disoriented trying to explore half the areas because it's hard to tell where exactly you are and where you're trying to go to find secrets and things like that. But then you hit the point where it's super vague of like, where the hell, which one am I even trying to find now? Like, where do I even look for? Like when you're trying to get like the last one of each area, like at that point you have very little to go on. But then what I did is I went to the east area and I'm like, all right, let's just try to finish this area today. And I'm already like hours into trying to do completionist playthrough, like mostly off-camera stuff where I do jump cuts and crap because it's just so much damn work to find everything. And I go south, and there's 2 doors, and they both go to the same dungeon when they used to go to 2 dungeons because now one of the dungeons is inaccessible because the door link is just broken. So then I tried going north because I'm like, I'll just go to the other side of the dungeon and work through it backwards. But when I go through north, there's a giant gauntlet of toads that attacks you, and one of them never enters the fray, so the door that closes when you defeat all the enemies never goes away, so I can't go north either. So, like, I literally can't... Like, I could probably go in a giant circle around the entire map to get towards the dungeon I was trying to explore, but it's like, at some point, I'm like, I just don't want to deal with it anymore. Like, the game loses... I lose all faith in the game at some point. I'm like, let's just... Like, I could keep
you feel like
bashing my face against the game... Yeah, like I can keep bashing my face against the game to satisfy people online for hitting some arbitrary completionist thing, or I could just go beat the game and do the thing that's fun, which is go fight all the bosses in the south and beat it.
Let's switch gears a bit. I feel like that's going to be how my playthrough of Stories is going to go, because I've already got the 4 truths, and I'm ready to move on to the end. But, like, there's still... so, Bird, you probably haven't played this, right? Yeah.
No.
Okay. So, choose your own adventure, Bastion-style combat, so kind of midpoint between Hyperlight Drifter and Bastion. And, so you can play through it 24 times, and, you know, the story changes every time based on your decisions, but ultimately there's, like, a couple of core tracks and then variations beyond that.
I was going to say, I assume you eventually get railroaded back onto some specific track because that's how writing goes.
There are 24 endings that are, like, unique, but a lot of them end up being kind of similar. Like, you get betrayed, you die, you turn into a horrible, evil god and eat the universe. Like, it's really fun.
The fun surprise is just how much of the dialogue is unique a lot of the time.
Yeah. They have a trigger in there, so you only hear the same dialogue once. Unless it's, like, plot relevant, and then you hear it again. But,
and
like,
they record a lot of idle dialogue for you just swinging a sword at nothing for a while.
Yeah, the narrator will say a snarky thing, and then never say it again, and I'm like... Holy shit, you know, I don't have to hear the same dumb joke over and over and over again. I love that.
They said the jet would give me the jitters.
Yes. Ratchet and Clank does that too, but not as well, which makes me kind of sad.
Ratchet and Clank overrides its own dialogue with other dialogue, unfortunately.
Yes.
A lot.
There's also, like, I'm doing a lot of swimming in the game, and if you're about to drown, he'll say the exact same line every single time you hit the same percentage of oxygen, and I'm like, It's like the Sonic da-da-da-da-da-da-da. You know, the, like, you're drowning thing.
Spoken dialogue.
Yeah, it's somebody snarkly saying, you don't have gills or whatever. Yeah, and it's just like, whatever. But yeah, so for Stories, I just wanted to mention this. Favorite part of the game, you can throw enemies into each other.
Oh, yeah.
Have you messed around with that at all?
In fact, early on, it's mandatory.
Well, it's mandatory early on, but I've discovered later on in the game, as your character gets more powerful, it's not mandatory. It's the easiest way to beat the game. I just huck enemies into each other, execute both of them, huck the next guy into the next guy, and I can clear an entire, like, encounter in about 10 seconds this way, as opposed to, like, countering and dodging and all this nonsense. I'm just, like, blitzing around, it's like a WWE match, except for
I was going to say, are there other ways to fight things in this game? Because if so like, then that's a prime example of what's called dominant strategy.
Yeah. It basically has Batman combat.
Okay. Well, dominant strategy. You found the thing that works. It's what you're going to
do. They give you, like, this sword that, like, sets enemies nearby you on fire, but that's just a damage over time. Where if you just knock them on their ass, you can execute them in one go. So it's just like, I'm going to execute everyone, except for these bombs. I chuck them off the edge.
I will say that I have two of the elemental weapons so far, and I don't find them super useful. Aside from, I mostly just stick with the one that heals me when I attack things.
The last one, the purple one's really good. It's not elemental; it just makes you attack faster.
It's super hard to unlock, or time-consuming at least. It's not even not even hard. It's just I'm not there yet. It's well above my pay grade.
The problem is, by the time you've unlocked that sword, your character's already got presumably enough, like, upgrades that it doesn't matter anymore, and you're already like ridiculous.
I will say it's nice. The game has a pretty extensive upgrade tree of like 20 to 30 things to click on, where all of them look like something I want, because that's usually not true. Usually I don't care about like
stamina meter.
Usually this whole branch is the tree that are like, well, I'm never going to explore that one.
Yeah, this one's all useful things, like you can use your grappling hook to rip off people's shields, or you can dash through shielded enemies, or you can like increase through damage of throwing enemies, or increased health and increased energy, increased run speed by 100%. The ability to freeze time when you perfectly counter something.
Yes. There are also crystals that you can get that level up that give you things like extra attack speed or resistances. Or my favorite is the shield breaker one. Which is why I don't care about the grappling hook to take off shields, because I just hit them and then their shield flies off like a projectile and kills somebody else for me. Which is amazing.
Is this a AAA game? Indie? AA?
No, indie. It's indie.
It's pretty indie.
Kickstarted?
No, I don't think so.
No, actually.
Okay. I can look
Yeah,
it
I
up.
know like nothing about the developers, but I don't think it was kickstarted.
What's it called? Tales of Symphonia?
Stories Path of
Stories what? I just remembered
Stories
story
Path
something.
of Destinies.
Stories Path of Destinies, you got it.
Yep.
I don't know
Okay.
anything about a Kickstarter.
It doesn't look
Yeah.
like it was kickstarted. And generally speaking, if something's released on console, then it probably had at least enough
Wasn't.
funding to not require a Kickstarter in the first place, so there is that.
That's often true.
Let's see.
Although that's often
It's
one of the stretch
totally-
goals for Kickstarter games.
Yeah. It's totally worth picking up. Like,
Yeah.
it is the perfect... Honestly, in my opinion, it's kind of the perfect, like, isometric hack and slash. Like, Hyper Light Drifter is good, and Bastion is good, but, like, this one feels fun the entire way through, and mostly balanced. The only thing I don't like is you can't counter two guys at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
Like Batman style or Shadow and Mordor style.
There's definitely
and that's
some-
when I gave up on countering, because I was just like, I'm just going to
Spearhead
get hit.
Games.
I find
know
that my
nothing
biggest complaint about the
you.
game is that you quickly upgrade the dash being turned into an attack of some sort, which
Yes.
has the nasty effect of making your dash lock onto enemies when you don't want it to. So it's like what'll happen is you'll like encounter enemies that where one hit will make them go nuclear basically, and the second hit will make them explode. And so I'll accidentally hit one of them, and I'm like, oh crap, I need to dash away from him, and my character will dash through him instead. I'm like, no, and then you just die.
So what I do with those, since I'm effectively just doing the sumo run, I just dash through them and then keep dashing away because I've maxed out my endurance meter.
Yeah.
So it's just like I'm just throwing units around and staying near none of them for longer than half a second.
So the
Which is
people that
great.
made this game, this is their third game. Their second game is a free-to-play MOBA
Oh god.
called Arena Cyber Revolution.
Oh, they made Tiny Brains.
They didn't make that game, yes.
Oh,
I did not know that.
that's actually okay. Yeah, that's actually kind of a good pedigree. They make like
They're
weird
also
multiplayer
hiring,
stuff.
so
Wow,
there you
too
go.
late for me.
They're based out of Montreal.
Yeah.
Have fun,
I'm not-
bird.
I'm not moving to Montreal. Are you kidding me?
I remember this.
It's
I remember Tiny
It's like
Brains
the
as being
Alabama of Canada.
I primarily remember Tiny Brains as being the weird game where I saw an image of like a bat that looks weirdly like a naked dude, where his crotch is covered by a giant band-aid. And I'm like, what is that monster
Yep.
design, and why? It's like, I didn't feel uncomfortable, but then you add nipples. You add like, they gave him, they have a naked-looking bat, which is like already, yeah, sure, animals look that way
Waterbot
in
can tell you
video
all about
games.
that.
But then they gave him moobs
Ducks.
and nipples and a crotch band-aid. I'm like, no, that got weird now. I didn't need that.
You're never gonna let me live that one down, Bird.
Should I?
You had a crotch
No.
band-aid?
There you go.
No. So Bird was making a duck car on Friday night, and he was distracted. So I went around to the front. I'm like, "Hey, you missed a spot." As I put 2 traffic cones right where its nipples would be. Ducks with nipples are kind of weird looking.
It's gonna say where it would be.
Dominatrix
I mean-
duck.
You know, they kind of have pectorals.
Do they?
Yeah. Well,
Tell us about
well,
them.
yeah.
birds
Wanda.
actually
Every-
have pectorals.
Pretty
They're
much
just not like human
everything that has
pectorals.
muscles has pectorals.
Yeah.
Tell us about your duck nipples, Wander.
I also gave it a butthole.
They were
Bird
orange.
was pretty done with my shit by the time we were done on Friday.
Yeah,
Of
I
course.
was.
It was funny.
Like I said, I tasted my own medicine, and it was very, very bitter.
Let's see.
We're gonna
God,
talk
what
about
else?
Factorio next, I guess. I don't know. Wander, you haven't played Factorio
You
yet,
haven't
have
played it
you?
yet,
No.
huh?
Are you planning
People have
to?
asked me to.
I would be surprised
I will-
if you did, personally.
I will if you two want to do multiplayer with
That's
it.
what I was
will play
about to say. Is what
Factorio.
if we all did a co-op thing?
Yeah, like
we
if you
could do
guys, if-
multiplayer Factorio. Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
fine.
especially because Catterday is kind of dying a slow back to Bird and Wander time death.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
and I
Keith,
just
if
hit
you
robot
wanna-
point, so I think I'm getting close to finishing the rocket launch. That is like the progression system of the game.
Yeah, so if you guys want to do like a playthrough of that, I'm up for it. But that's the only free time I have in my schedule because I'm so busy with Enter the Gungeon, Stories, Halcyon 6, Ratchet and Clank, Dark Souls 3.
Right.
Still trying to beat
lot of games
Witch in the
coming out.
100 Night. Yeah, And, like, there's more games coming, so I'm just, like, in this kind of constant state of desperate, like, ha, ha, ha.
I have. Let's see. What does my sheet look like? Factorio, sponsored videos, Banner Saga 2, upcoming Banner Saga 2 in like a week.
Oh, yeah, that's one.
XCOM 2, Darkest Dungeon, Minecraft Q&A series.
You're not done with Darkest Dungeon yet?
No. Do you know how long that game is now?
Christ.
Do you know how,
See, that's why I didn't want to get back into it, because I knew it was just too... I knew I wasn't going to have time. My last one was like 60 episodes long, and that was like the launch early access.
I've now got FTL. We're about to start... we have stories right now, and Ratchet and Clank. I'm about to start Dark Souls 3. King's Quest Episode 3 comes out in 2 weeks.
Ooh, fun.
And people want me to do
with,
New Game Plus playthroughs of Salt and Sanctuary and go back to finish Dragon's Dogma and Undertale.
Luckily, Stories Path of Destinies, you can literally end that whenever you want. You're just like, it's starting to get repetitive, I'm done.
Oh, and The Quest. It's impossible to keep track of all these games.
What else is
I don't
there?
know how I'm going to do it. I don't know.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to do Banner Saga. I'd like to, but I just...
It also would be weird to play Banner Saga 2 without playing the first one.
Well, what I'd probably do is next Saturday just do like a binge session.
Because you would have to beat all of the first game to play the second one properly, because it's a direct story continuation.
I'd actually have to start it as soon as tomorrow, because it comes out on the 19th, which...
It comes out in about a week.
Wow.
Is it the 19th or the 19th, because Halcyon 6. So it comes out
a
week
good
from
month
Dark
for
Souls.
games.
Yeah.
This is a good month for games.
Early February, late February, early March, late March, all of April.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's doing the
only
full
time I've
Bioware
had
thing
to-
where it's a direct continuity of a party of characters and stuff like that, and like every single chapter, you're making decisions that either are life and death or inadvertently life and death throughout the entire thing. So like it's kind of if you just hop into chapter 2 with no context and no built up stuff, then it's like not what anyone would be looking for, basically.
Yeah, what I would have to do is pretty much binge it tomorrow, which could work because I've actually got some Ratchet and Clank ready.
Yeah.
Oh, Ratchet and Clank goes up tomorrow, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's tomorrow.
Okay.
Or like yesterday, from the perspective of people watching this on YouTube on day 1. Welcome to Hell Wander. Video games forever.
I mean, I'm okay with it, but like, I would very much like the ability to get some night's rest. At least I've got a backlog for Gungeon that's like 2 weeks long.
We have the best problems.
Endless Legend.
So I'm getting constantly surprised by Banner Saga because just relentlessly, every single decision you do, like, it's not necessarily a game where you make decisions that like change the entire path of the story. Like you're almost constantly like walking across the continent towards something that is like sort of set in stone which thing you're headed towards all the time. So you don't like get to manually guide the story all the time. But it'll hit you with several decisions per chapter that have huge impacts, not only just on like things like the morale of your entire army or your supply level or making future events happen that you don't even know about yet, but also a lot of decisions will just be like right on the spot. You could make a decision that will end up killing one of your party members, regardless of how much you rely on them in your combat scenes and everything. It's like it's just a game that's just kicking you in the face sometimes.
Honestly, like the Fire Emblem style, which is the reverse, where it's like you lose them in battle, that's it. But like, an arbitrary decision does not spell their doom 90% of the time.
How often do you make arbitrary decisions outside of battle, though, in Fire Emblem games? Like, you watch a cutscene, and then you fight, and then you watch another cutscene.
So, I'm going at this from the... They've dumbed it down recently. I'm going at this from the 2 Game Boy Advance games, which I think are the quintessential Fire Emblem games, and everything else has been kind of...
pretty fantastic, at least for the ones you've had in the States.
Yeah, because...
and then the ones that were released in the GameCube, like, right afterwards were also... Was it GameCube?
Yeah, the GameCube...
Yeah,
it was GameCube, and then the sequel was on the Wii, and those were pretty good, but those were dumbed down.
They were, and then after that, as far as I'm concerned, throwing down the gauntlet, it tanked. It became unbearable.
Yeah, Yeah, I beat the last mission of the first 3DS one with one guy that... I was just like, all right, whatever, I'll just use the main character.
A tactical RPG where you just roll through the game with one person.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like, how was that a game? How was that a tactical RPG? But whatever. The point is that people want to have like Mary Sue's.
It's a tactical.
Honestly, that's what it boils down to. They want to
simulator.
They want like the player to be like a Mary Sue that like gets all the girls in the video game.
In the first one on the Game Boy Advance, which was just called Fire Emblem, but I think it had some tagline that actually mattered.
I think it was
like
Game
the
Boy
Japanese
Advance?
version.
I think it was genuinely called just Fire Emblem in the
In
US
the United
because
States,
it was the first
just
one.
Fire Emblem.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was the first one that was released here.
But it was actually like the 7th Japanese game, probably.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll look up what its specific name is. But
They had no reason
it's
to
the
think
one
that we
with
cared
Ike.
about them up till then.
Right?
No, it's
No.
it's
that
Marth.
was the different one. Sorry.
No, not
No, it wasn't
Hollywood.
Martha
It's
either.
Elliewood and Lynn
Yeah.
and Hector.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's who it was.
That's the only one
Sorry.
I've ever played.
Yeah.
Rocket no Ken, so the Sword of Flame. That one was awesome because
Whoa, that
if you
name.
like, if you didn't like do specific actions like meet somebody in a tent, get to a tent at a specific time, do like there was some kind of like arcane things you could do. You would just completely miss out on not important characters, but like good characters. Or they would leave or stuff like that. But there were only a couple of them, and usually if you like knew they were coming beforehand, or you were just lucky, you could generally get by it. But for the most part, you never lose characters arbitrarily. You just wouldn't gain the really cool ones. I'm trying to remember specific moments.
If I remember
Sacred
correctly, there was often just secret characters, basically. Like, they'd show up in combat, and you just have to know
But they weren't,
like magically that if you approach them a certain way, they'd join your party forever.
Well, it's usually that it's based off of like long existing tropes in the game, like the Myrmidon character. If you approach them with like the cleric character, then
they would always like introduce the characters that way. Like they would say their name or mention it. So if you're not reading the game, you're not going to notice it. But no, there were actually some like legit secret characters that like never get mentioned in the plot that you pick up.
But aren't
and they're,
most
like,
of them garbage?
Not really. Not in
in
Sword of Flame
Stones,
in the next one.
All of the secret characters were hot. They were terrible.
Yeah. Well, okay, so Sacred Stones didn't really matter because you could also like grind independently of the game and like reset people and do like weird shit.
Yeah, that was a really weird choice.
I liked it because it let me actually like train my characters up. I felt like Sword of Flame.
You did have that like, sort of safety net feeling where it was like, okay, well, at least my character's level 20 and they're like tier 3 job, so they're not going to die. It's 60
Sword of
HP.
Flame. I hated Sword of Flame because they'd be like, here's a character. By the way, he's going to die in like 3 turns unless you save him. And then he's also like really weak until you train him up or give him the right weapon. And I'm just like, I want to use this guy because Myrmidons and heroes are awesome.
It's supposed to be hard, dude. They're not supposed to be easy.
I was just frustrated. But after playing the other ones and seeing how easy it was, it's like I kind of missed just how brutal that was.
Yeah. Well, it
like,
felt like the game had a soul, honestly.
Yeah. I would do arena grinding, and then somebody would die after like an hour, and I'd be like, no, why?
This is kind of why I usually play Fire Emblem games on emulator.
Yeah,
little bird pro tip there.
You lose me when that kind of mechanic is part of the game.
But it's not part of the game. That's only if you're like insane and me.
Yeah.
But like you can beat that game without ever doing that.
Oh yeah,
that's
what I was
totally
trying
unnecessary to
do.
grind.
When I played the game, I never made any attempt to grind. I think I had to give up eventually, though. There was an incredibly massive level covered in people with the drakes or whatever they were called at the time.
I know the one you're talking about.
And there was a boss in the top left corner, and I think you had just gotten the
This is
female...
definitely the first one, right?
Yeah, you just got the female wyvern rider or whatever in your party, like with a scar face. And it was like an impossible mission. It was it was a huge fight, and it was a massive map, and there was just so many opportunities. And of course, I was one of those people that was restarting all the time because I didn't want to lose anybody. So I'm trying to get to this massive, horrifying fight without losing any characters, and I just kept trying and trying.
I'd figured out the second playthrough I did. I realized early on that you never want to use the tier 2 characters.
No,
ever, because their stat growth is stunted because they
you never want to use
evolved at a bad time.
The pre-evolved ones, to use the word we just used.
Because they're super strong early on, but then they'll be shit for the rest of the game, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I forced myself to never use them. I just put them away, took away their weapons, and had them stand in a corner if I needed to put them in the battlefield.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'd use them to carry around my healer.
I was going to say,
because
they're
my
useful
healer
for
was slow as shit.
They usually have horses, so you can use them to schlep people around.
Yeah, I would call them buses. But
Basically,
so
what they were good for.
So I did that mission with like a full party of people that started at level 1, got up to level 20, then ranked up, and they just ruined the rest of the game. And I felt so satisfied because like I knew what I was doing and I did everything right.
It is the kind of game with the complexity level where you'd probably... It's like maybe even your first playthrough of XCOM or something like that, where like you just need to learn certain things the first time around so that you can be optimum the second time.
Absolutely. Well, that's totally the way that XCOM is designed that way, for sure, where it's like you will lose multiple times until you start winning.
That may be one of the problems
first Dwarf
for me
Fortress.
with the Fire Emblem, though, is that I didn't start over, ever. So all my early mistakes for potential character growth and zero grinding may have totally screwed me by the time I got to what was, I think, probably the last 5 missions of the game or something.
Yeah.
One thing that
I actually got stuck on that mission, too. That was the mission I ended my playthrough on.
Yeah.
One thing that I don't like about Fire Emblem games is the RNG with stat ups. It's really frustrating to have a character like not get a single HP up for like 5 levels. And it's just like, why? Why are you doing this to me, game?
I can't get behind that kind of mechanic at all.
No, that
they balance that better by later games. I know by the GameCube one and the Wii one, I think it was actually just standardized, so you knew what their stats would be.
Thank you,
I just looked up a walkthrough on GameFAQs for Fire Emblem: The Blazing Sword, just for context, to try to see if I could find out about that mission. And one of the first things I see in the table of contents is a whole section titled "The RNG."
It's
nice.
It's RNG in Fire Emblem is like they're probably saying that specifically because they want to talk about the true random system, where basically like they skew results on both ends of the spectrum, so that like a 70 is actually like a 90% chance of something happening. A 50 is still a 50, because the idea is that it kind of makes sense in terms of human psychology to be like, well, if this is a 70% chance of happening, then it should happen more often than not. So they skew it to be like 90% likely as opposed to what it actually is. Which a lot of people hate, but...
Yeah.
It is what it is. The funny thing is that it's designed around the way that... What is it? It's very interesting. It's like... If you were just rolling dice and trying to invent a game on your own, you could conceivably come up with a true random system by accident. Just by, like, not knowing what you're doing. And they just purposefully ran with, like, this really bad RNG mechanic because it just felt better to what they were going for. I forget how it works, but it's like you do 2 rounds of dice rolling and then you pick, like, the higher ones or something. I forget. I can look it up.
And we've been playing some games lately that could greatly benefit from some sort of weighted RNG, and we're kind of baffled by the fact that they don't. Like, even in... It's like we've been playing World of Warcraft lately, and one of the weird side effects of the way they handle that kind of stuff is that they'll just... It's that age-old thing of, like, why aren't these boars dropping kidneys? How is this happening? Where we had a quest where I got 4 of them in a row of the 5 things we needed, and Wanderstill had none, and he was like, screw it, I'm higher level anyway, I don't really care if I do the quest. Then in the time it took me to get my 5th one, he got all 5 of them in that span of time, while I'm just grinding away at
and
like
left,
10 minutes
turned in
trying
the
to
quest
get
and
things
picked
to
up
drop.
a new one.
Yeah.
It is.
So the way it works is it rolls 2 random numbers and then averages it to give the skewing effect.
Huh.
Which, like, doesn't seem like it would make, like, I don't know, like, if you think about it, like, I don't see how that's going to make that big of a difference, but it ends up making a very unusual difference to the distribution of the rolls then.
This is dumb, but I found the Scarface lady I was talking about named Vida, and I typed Vida emblem on image search just to get results of that, and one of the first results really just tells you the era that this game existed in. One of the first results is a picture of combat, and the corner says unregistered Hypercam 2. It's like the watermark of like you're using unregistered software to get this screenshot on the internet.
I'd like to point out an interesting thing that I really, really, really like about the Fire Emblem games. Generally speaking, their female character designs are really cool. Like their armor and their female fantasy armor is like usually so nice looking. Like I always like to point to Titania. I hate the game that she's from, but like her armor design is phenomenal. I'll just like paste it in. God damn it! Make me a mod of your chat, dude. Here. Like this is like the most practical female armor ever. And it looks great. It's
just
very
someone wearing
feminine
actual
looking.
armor.
But it's still like very feminine looking.
On the other hand,
yes.
Lynn looks like Kasumi from Dead or Alive.
That's true. They do tend to have some sort of wide range sometimes.
I mean, Lynn, though, was like a nomad woman. She's not wearing armor, so it kind of works.
Huh. Well, generally speaking, they're more hits than misses.
Yeah, it's not a crazy costume or anything. It's just it just struck me as the fact that it immediately made me think exactly of the main character of the game that people make fun of the costumes in.
Yeah, the lack of pants is a little weird.
Yeah, because she's got a no pants blue costume with the front and back flap as the primary cover.
I mean,
Kasumi's
I'm not immediately thinking of things from other video games. Why would you be thinking of things from other video games? Lynn was 13 or 15 in the Japanese version. Okay, so they're not perfect. But
okay, I actually forgot she wasn't wearing pants. Like, damn.
Wait, 13 or 15? They didn't change the sprites, did they? Because that's a lot of boob for a 13-year-old. That's weird.
I get what you were saying, but somehow that still came across as really creepy.
Japan.
I'm talking about something in the context of it being creepy.
I understand, and it's still getting like weirded me out that you said it.
No,
That seems really weird.
Okay, so she's 15 in the Japanese version, 18 when you first meet her
make her 13
in the
America.
version.
That's weird.
No, she's 3 years older in America.
That usually is the case.
Yeah, so in the Japanese version, she's 15, 16, which I guess makes sense because I guess their legal age for... Yeah,
they do that all the time.
That's at least not 13.
Like so many,
a little weird.
So many imported games from Japan that have like questionable aged characters will say that they're like 18 in the American releases. They do this with like anime and stuff too.
I have 2 questions here, really.
Yes?
It's like... Because on one side you have the weird Japanese obsession with like a bunch of like child soldiers going to war all the time that are like underage for doing virtually anything. Because all
Harry
of Japanese...
Potter, dude, it's not so Japanese.
But in Harry Potter, it's a kid going to school, but then scary things happen. But in a lot of anime, it's literally children going to actual war. Like Harry Potter goes to kind of war when he's 18 years old at the end of the series. But
yeah.
But Japan's like so many different anime shows about just actual child soldiers. But then there's also the weird fascination where they take a character who is largely used in non-sexual contexts, but the moment they get transferred over to the United States, they have to be a fuckable age for some reason. Which gets weirder on its own level, that they have to be sexually legal for some reason when they're not doing anything on the... I don't remember Lynn having like any romance subplots that would make that weird. Aside from the child soldier
true,
part.
yeah.
And while we're at it, why isn't she 26?
No
like, why specifically that age where it's like why are we specifically making it the exact age that makes it weird and questionable?
It's because after 25, you're a old mentor type character. As to otherwise, like, how old is Auron supposed to be in Final Fantasy X?
Oh, geez. I always assumed he was like 55 or older, but I'm sure I'm sure he's 32 because it's Final Fantasy.
He could be 18 for all I know.
35.
He's 35?
He's 35? He's got great 35. Hair.
What? Yeah, I know. And, like, how old is Jack?
Holy shit.
Jack, I think he's supposed to be like 1 million.
It doesn't say Jack's age. Okay, that's probably for the best. But I'm just gonna put this out there. So Auron is 35. Jack is probably also going to be like 35-ish. How old is Titus?
I don't know, 17.
I don't know.
I guess it works. Yeah, 17 exact. So,
Go figure.
Oh, chat's saying that Lynn gets married. I guess that'd be why they forced her to be a certain age.
Yeah,
Although,
there you go.
although
That's
it's
exactly
totally
it.
acceptable in Western cultures to just have storylines about children being forced to marry anyway, because that's something that happened in our
Well,
own history.
I don't think she's getting forced into marriage. Like, I think that game did just have, like, romance plot lines.
Did it?
I actually forgot that it did. Yeah, the
I will
support
totally admit it.
conversations,
I
you
could
can
have
kind of
forgotten
push
everything
them.
because I played it when I was 13, because it was a 2003 game. So I could be wrong about some
honestly,
of this.
like the whole support system in that game was like they kind of tell you about it, but they don't tell you how deep it goes. And like
It changes the ending of the game, right? Like, during the credits,
No.
it says, like, and Lynn,
Well,
another
yeah.
person, got married,
Yeah.
and they had 17 children and opened up
Yeah.
a farm.
it changes that. I think actually for my last playthrough, I specifically didn't do any, so the credits would be shorter.
It's just like, boop, boop, boop.
Yeah, it was really fast. I liked it. Oh god, I
That's
hated
pretty
Pokemon's
funny.
credits. They were so long. So like after that, as a kid, I'd be like, anything I can do to make them shorter, I will look up and do.
Oh, man, I thought I was the only person who thought this. Yeah, every time you fought the Elite Four, you had to watch the credits, and it was like, well, I guess I'm putting down my Game Boy for 7 hours while this plays
Yeah.
out.
I just plug it in and leave. I'm done.
Yeah.
Weird.
Actually, no, I couldn't plug it in. Oh man, did you guys? I assume all had Game Boy Colors and stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I have a traumatic story about the Elite Four.
Well, okay. I was just going to mention this with the plugging in stuff. I actually forgot. If you plugged in your Game Boy, I think it would disrupt the battery and shut your game off. Because
That was definitely a you thing. I never had that
Okay.
issue.
Weird.
okay. It might have been something else, but I had a friend. We were playing Silver. We got up to the second gym, beat it, and we were like racing or something. And then he's just idly fiddling around while like doing a fight, and he just plugs in and unplugs his Game Boy, and it shut off. And he hadn't saved
Oh, yeah,
yet
if you
because we were racing.
unplug your Game Boy after plugging it in, then it'll shut it off.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what he did. And so I was there having already beaten, what was it? It was like the bug gym and then something else. I don't remember. And he was just like crying and begging me to like trade games with him so he could keep playing. I went home.
Trade games with him?
Yeah.
How did you meet, like, the worst people to play games with as a
He
kid?
is. I mean, he was raised by nannies. His parents were like two high-powered lawyers, so like he saw them maybe once every couple of days. So the entitlement was strong.
Dang.
Yeah,
Huh.
he was mad rich though. So I
Yeah,
got
he's
to watch
probably
him
happier
play a
and
lot of
way
video
more
games.
successful than any of us now.
No.
What?
So in college,
Cocaine,
my
dude.
roommate, my roommate in college was from the same town that I was when I lived in California,
Yeah.
and so he was telling me about all my old friends and what happened to them.
What
And so
happened
for
to
this
this
guy
dude?
specifically, everybody called him the Prince, and he had like no friends because he was too stuck up to have any.
But
I was like, yeah, that
but
sounds about right.
cocaine.
That's it.
Cocaine.
How
I
do
bet
you
the
get that
cocaine made
kind
it
of-
better.
You know what? I have not looked into that. Also high school, so I don't know about cocaine.
I'm just baffled by the idea of a real human being have that kind of reputation and not being an actual anime character.
I had friends in middle
Yeah, I
school
know.
that did meth.
He's too rich and
you're
stuff
from New
now. Everyone
Mexico.
calls him the
I am
prince.
from
Doesn't
New
talk to him.
Mexico.
Yeah, everybody in
Somebody immediately
California.
in chat says that sounds like an anime plot.
It does.
Jeez.
It really does.
He had a rhyme, but I don't remember. Oh, wait, no. He had a rhyme, but I can't recite it without actually saying the guy's name. But
Yeah.
the like high schoolers
wouldn't.
actually had a rhyme to make fun of him. I was like,
Wow.
Wow.
Make fun of
That's like an
high
elementary school
schoolers.
thing.
Like,
I
wow,
know.
for one. Also to make
Well-
fun of somebody who's rich. Like,
I was gonna say that's
Dang.
effort, but then I
Well,
remembered it's
no,
high
everybody
schoolers.
was
All they
rich.
do
That's
is
the
obsess
point.
over that.
oh, fair enough, yeah.
Like, this is not the kind of town you can live in and be
Gotcha.
making like
I
lower
thought
than
it was
X
like
amount.
they were like the token rich guy in school and everyone was making fun of him. Which would be
No,
like,
you-
seems kind of like a weird
No,
thing to criticize
his-
somebody over.
His parents just gave him everything. And from my perspective, where my parents gave me very little, he was rich and I was not. Even though ultimately, I have no idea what the socioeconomic state of my family is because they don't buy shit. We cut down trees to heat our house. So,
Because you live in the coldest state next to Maine.
Well, no, Minnesota is the coldest, other than Alaska, and they did
North
that there
Dakota?
too.
I'm not a scientist. I'm not some climatologist, weatherman, meteorologist bastard. I just know that
Maine
where
is
you
actually-
live right now is freezing.
Yeah, it is cold. I was
I am a
outside.
scientist. I
for a
have no
walk
idea what
before
the
this.
answer is.
Well, since
Well, you
it's
study
along
rocks.
since it's
I'm a
along the
scientist,
seaboard,
too.
the
You're a
temperature
scientist.
of like Massachusetts and Maine are warmer than like Minnesota and stuff, because Minnesota has nothing.
True.
It's just
Purple says I'm
lakes.
not a scientist. He's full of crap. I'm totally a scientist.
Computer science does not count as science.
It's a science, man.
No, it doesn't. If I
it's
get a doctorate in
mathematics.
art, I am not a doctor.
No,
I had a teacher that had a doctorate in art. I made fun of him for that.
Don't they still get to call you a doctor, though? Doesn't that become the prefix for it?
Yeah.
It is the proper terminology.
He's talking
but
about a
it's
medical
still,
doctor, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still goofy.
But I'm just
to-
saying, like, a computer science is definitely makes me a scientist.
I'm sure.
If you're saying that I'm not a scientist, then you're saying mathematicians aren't scientists. Are you prepared to?
Are they
you prepared to
scientists?
cross that
Now I'm
one?
trying to figure out how to define science.
Yeah, this is usually what it boils down to when I bring up this incredibly trolly point.
Oh,
is
yeah.
that people are like, well, is math science? I don't know.
Are you
what
a
to say.
semantic scientist? Son of a bitch.
I'm a semantic troll. I know just
Okay.
enough about semantics to argue.
Guys, this is completely irrelevant. I'm going to send you the link to the
Go,
Titus.
go figure. The
Wiki
last
page.
20 minutes of every single podcast we record devolves into
I don't even know what we're
insane
talking
ramblings.
about anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to bring us back to Final Fantasy X for a second. Scroll down
Sure.
to the personality section of the Titus page and
Oh,
look at
no.
that picture.
Why is there like a 2-paragraph in pronunciation? The game is voice acted.
No,
they never say his
but
name.
No one says his name, and
You can
everyone
rename
argues
him.
about whether his name Titus or Titus.
Oh, right.
Although in my name,
He's just like
he
you
was
and-
named Keith.
Guy.
Titus is upbeat and carefree and at first appears childish. He turns more
No.
serious when things get hectic.
Look at that image next to him. Look at
Oh
the
my-
reflection. I've been staring at that idly, getting more and more annoyed, and I couldn't figure out why until I realized the reflection is just the image doubled and it's pissing me off.
It's offset very slightly, but also...
No, it's not showing the bottom of his shoe, and it's offset slightly.
Oh yeah,
That's what I said. It is... Oh, wow, it isn't the bottom of his shoe. Yeah.
It's just literally the image flipped and, like, kind of faded.
Huh.
this is a very boring topic to talk about.
It just noticed it. It's
I guess
better
I
than
should put on
compa-
display
I just have to
captures so that
register-
people can see this
Yeah,
on the,
like, this is-
on the base cam now.
It's better than listening to Bird quibble about whether or not he's a scientist. Keith's the only scientist we
I
have
just had the
here.
realization that we're talking about that though, like on a podcast. I'm like, oh, we need to stop this. We need to stop
Yeah,
talking
we
about
probably
this guy's
do.
reflection on the floor. Dear Lord. But like on
Just
the
trying to bring it
Pokemon
up as
topic, one of the
quick
big
as
things that
possible.
almost shut down my love of Pokemon when I was a kid is that I got to the Elite Four and I was fighting them, and I dropped my Game Boy and the battery came out and it wiped my save.
Oh, the battery came out?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Oh.
So
I had that
lost
happen with
all
Missing
progress
No,
of all of
but that was
all
my
of
fault.
The game. That was the longest game I'd ever played at that point, and I had to start
Oh,
the
yeah.
entire thing over.
So, yeah, like, if the battery pops out, your save is gone, because the battery is what powered the save file in those old cartridge games, huh?
Oh no, it was the battery of the Game Boy.
Oh.
This is just
that's
bad
pretty
luck.
The
bad.
battery, the double A's popping out the wrong time apparently just wipes your save, and you're
Yep.
just screwed. I'm like, holy fuck. And then imagine me for the rest of my childhood and teenage years being really jumpy about that goddamn "don't turn this off at the wrong time" message that shows up in every goddamn game
That's
and has
'cause
never been relevant again in my life.
I picture you just smoking a cigarette and being like, I know what happens. I've had it happen.
I've covered wars, you know.
Just like it goes noir for a second. Just like
He's just like
jazz,
looking
like
at a picture
mournful
of a
jazz in the
Pikachu,
background.
Let me tell you about the underbelly of this dark city.
stroking a framed picture of a Pikachu.
Oh god.
It's cracked.
We really need to do like a Pokemon race of some variety.
Why?
Because
Why?
it would be hilarious.
Why?
Just like to Pewter City. That'd be it.
That would take so little time.
That's the first one, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Okay,
like
fine.
half
Go
an
a little
hour,
bit
and you have to go
further.
through Viridian Forest.
Yeah.
First person to make it through that stupid cave with all the Zubats.
Okay, that's a race I can get behind.
I feel
Yeah.
like I feel like Pokemon and Zelda are just the two things that I don't need anyone to see me play.
I thought you said you wanted to do a Zelda playthrough with me.
Yeah. I always think about it, and then I also think about never doing it. I think that if
See,
we
I
ever
think
did a
I'd rather
Zelda
play,
playthrough,
like-
what I'd want to do is that the two of us play the entirety of the Zelda game without uploading any of it until it's done, so that
okay
all the
with that.
backseat gaming can never ruin our fun of the game or anything that's going
Oh, yeah.
on.
Absolutely.
Because doing one session of Zelda and uploading that, and then having everyone screaming at us, and then having to go back to play it more would be the worst feeling.
Yes.
Because we don't know. We don't know about these games.
The nice thing with old games that you don't need to get out soon is, I mean, you can just sit on that footage forever.
Yeah. And there's supposed to be games about discovery and having fun and exploring, but I'm watching, anytime I see, like, the Game Grumps play any Zelda game at all, basically, it's just people screaming the whole time. God, he made no
You say
progress.
that about every game, dude.
Yeah. Like, every video, all the comments are just screaming about how they made no progress in that video, or I can't believe they don't know about that, and I'm like, I watched them go to, like, 3 new locations and pick up a new relic. I'm like, how is that? I don't understand. I don't understand what they're doing wrong. And, like,
It's because people
I don't think I could deal with that live.
people don't realize like how long it takes to do stuff in video games.
Oh, yeah. Games are long.
Yeah,
like, really
so they're
long.
like, why did it take you like 15 minutes to do this thing? Because
Yeah.
like when you play the game, it feels like it's over in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And you don't realize like I just sunk like half an hour into this task or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Like that's how it goes.
Like,
That's
I
like
have
a big
I have
part of it
videos
right there.
of Wasteland and Samurott 3, where in both cases, like, I'm going like front to back, and I'm not really making mistakes. I'm just reading what comes up, and I'm just solving the puzzles, and I'm beating the encounters, and so on. And people are like, "Oh my god, it's so taking you so long," and I'm like, this is literally how fast the game is, but also edited down. Like, I've reduced the duration of the video from how slow the game actually is, and people just get impatient about stuff and don't
Wasteland's
understand.
also a fairly slow-paced game.
Oh, yeah.
On top of that,
But they specifically are complaining that I'm the slow one. And I'm like, no, video games are slow, man. I play a whole genre of slow games on my channel all the time. It's just how things go. Not everything can be Crash Bandicoot.
I'm still getting comments, like today, on Digimon of people angry at me because I haven't done certain mechanics or gotten certain Digivolutions. And I'm like, I beat that game a couple days ago, and I never have to come back to it. I'm just going to ignore this comment.
That's a specific experience that only YouTubers will know, is when you
Yeah.
have a complete playthrough of a game, and then someone is live commenting their own experience of watching through the series at their agony.
I've gotten 10
of your
emails from the same
decisions.
guy in 24 hours.
Yeah.
the
Or
same
like
guy.
long. Yeah, he's watching through the whole series. I'm tracking his progress. He's watching
yeah.
a lot of videos in a very short period of time.
People will
it's incredible.
obsessively watch your entire series and complain every episode you don't use a specific mechanic. And sometimes it's an optimum thing, and sometimes it's literally arbitrary. Like, they'll just be shouting
still
at
have
you to use
people-
a specific party member because they like that one better.
Yep.
But the
Yep,
series is
there's
over,
that.
man.
There's that, and a lot of people want me to switch up to hard mode because the battles are too easy. And then
Yeah.
when I do switch up to hard mode, I just lose instantaneously, and
Because
I'm like,
hard mode in most video games is grind mode.
Oh, yeah.
well, so
It's
this
not
game
like
actually
it gets
has...
harder.
So this game actually just has, like, arbitrary caps on levels. So, like, imagine if, in Pokemon, you capped out at, 100, but you got up to 100 after, like, maybe an hour or two of grinding. Or you can use, like, some bullshit grinding method to get up there in 20 minutes, which is what I figured out. But all of the opposing Pokemon get up to level, like, 200, 300, something like that. So you have to use, like, cheap, abusive tactics to beat them. Also, half of your attacks don't work on them because bullshit reasons. So it's like, you can't even grind to beat this game. You need to grind to beat this game.
For me, that's the worst thing that happens in any RPG, is
Yeah.
when you have attacks that literally stop doing things. Like, it's
So,
one thing if it's
yeah.
rock, paper, scissors, and you're using rock against the wrong thing and stuff like that. Like, I totally am cool with that. But when it's literally like, this is what my character is forever, like...
So
like actually for me, Dragon's Dogma is one of those cases where, like, I've been playing tons of side quests, and I've been doing the entire game linearly, and when I get to the Bitter Black Isle area, there's whole chunks of the game where you can shoot people with your most powerful attacks and do 0 damage. and the people are like, you gotta stack these paraffs. Like, there's apparently an item that literally multiplies your damage. And it's like, well, that seems like shitty. Like, and they're like, yeah, if you use like 4 of them, you can kill the boss in like 2 hits. And I'm like, so it goes from being so hard that it's not fun to being so easy it's not fun. I'm like, why would they balance it that way?
That just really encapsulates a lot of the problems with like RPGs, man.
Yeah,
It's hard to balance
they're
as an
mechanically so.
So in this
Dark
case,
Souls nails it. No, Dark Souls is all percentages.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. So I just want to explain like how this is like garbage. Status effects. Imagine if all of the bosses are immune to them, but you're not, and they use them all the time.
Yeah.
So I was up against this really fast guy. He didn't hit very hard, but he was really fast. So it was like, I'll poison him, because he'll just keep ticking the poison damage and die, because the poison damage goes up and up and up. And like, I learned very early on that this is like actually a good tactic, because all the other attacks are boring and dumb. And then maybe 3/4 of the way through the game, nobody was poisonable anymore. They're just flat out immune. There's also like speed negatives that you can do to people, so I was going to slow them down. Now I was immune to that too. So eventually I just made my party so fast that I just acted more than he did and just beat him that way.
Jesus.
And
You
it took
found
like
a
half
way
an hour.
to cheese.
I found a way to cheese. I literally just copied his tactic because that was the only way I could win. Because if I tried playing it normally, I'd lose.
You know, that almost
just
sounds like
instant.
like a legit tactic, like a well-designed game when you put it that way.
Almost, but it's like, if this is the only tactic that lets you win, no, all alternatives don't work.
I could see this weird thought just randomly popped in my head. I could see a boxing game being pretty fun if that was the idea. Like, you had to, instead of like what most boxing games are, which is like you go to the gym, you lift weights to get your strength stat up, then you go in and you wail on the guy. Like, if there wasn't grinding, but you had to like adapt like constantly to like what the other boxers were doing.
This wasn't adaption. This was just find the abusive tactic.
Right. But I'm saying
it's
like
the only way.
you could design like a really fun boxing game around that idea if it was like it would almost be like a puzzle game at that point.
How weird
like,
is it that
once I found out
grinding
this
is
tactic-
a weird constant mechanic in boxing games?
Yeah.
Well, once I figured out this tactic, that was the only way I could beat the game. Like, every boss thereafter was harder and harder.
see.
And the only way I could beat it was using this exact tactic, because all bosses were immune to stat effects, stat downs.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not even the dominant strategy, it was the only strategy. Yeah. And I just felt so dirty, because, like, they give you 250 Digimon, and
And none of them work.
I'm gonna say, like, maybe, I mean, if you cut that down to maybe the 50 megas that are available to you, I would say of that,
So humanoids
maybe
and armor.
15. Yeah, 15 of them are actually viable, and 3 to 5 of them are actually necessary. And it's really stupid because it's like you have this whole list, and they're all bad.
Those character designs got boring, right? Like the tropiness of their like where every single baby Digimon is basically like a marketable plushie toy, and the super one is shaped like an action figure, so it has to be human shaped and in armor.
Yeah, honestly, the best were the champions and the ultimates. The megas were mostly humanoid, which I didn't like.
I feel like the core difference between
babies
Pokemon
rookies
and
were okay.
Digimon, even though Pokemon's super merchandise, of course, is that every single Digimon literally feels like it's a category of merchandise.
Yeah. That's
Because like, there is literally the plush category
my audience
and the
heard
action
that
figure
point
category.
and is very angry at you. You'd mentioned that in one of the other videos, and several of my Digimon fans were very angry about this, and I was like,
I'm sorry, I'm
I
right.
mean,
right.
It's a game that's designed to like move product.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's literally
Like,
a property that was invented because another property was successful in merchandise, so they made a competitive merchandise property. It's the Japanese equivalent of liking Ninja Turtles, which is one of the 20 shows invented in the 80s specifically to sell toys, to the point where a lot of them had toy lines before they had shows or even fiction to base them on.
I found out, apparently that's Ronald Reagan's fault. So it used to be that, this is the funniest thing. So I guess it used to be that there were certain restrictions placed on how much you could advertise and how you could advertise to children in cartoons. And then in the 80s, Ronald Reagan was like, we don't need this commie shit. So he signed it out. And then all of a sudden, we had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, G.I. Joe, Barbie, just everything had like shows. Transformers, I guess, would be the big one.
Just 500
that people
shows
think of.
built around merchandise lines more than shows.
Right. He-Man.
Yeah. I mean, an entire memorable plot line that people think of for Transformers, where they killed up a bunch of characters off, was exclusively for the purpose of making a second toy line to replace them.
Yeah.
Like,
and then subsequently driving up the value of the killed-off characters,
that's
too.
how cynical children's programming was when we were growing up. And then some of these people will be like, Adventure Time sucks. And it's like, at least it's on a different...
way more of a soul.
Yeah. Like, people grow up on completely soulless garbage little groups of, like, 4 guys, and maybe there's 1 girl, too. And, like,
people being like, I picture... When I watch, like, G.I. Joe now, I picture the writers are smoking a cigar and being like, I love money. How are we going to get more of it? And
then when it doesn't work, they're like, what did we do wrong?
Oh, yeah. Like, 80s cartoons are every bit as cynical as watching a Star Wars watching the Star Wars prequels and just pointing out every time a new alien shows up that you know is going to be a toy, and that's why they made that alien.
Yeah,
I never saw the point of Star Wars, like, toys or merchandise. They always did it so badly.
Well, that was the good thing about Star Wars merchandise for the original generation of it was that there was a series of movies that were really popular, so they made toys in response to the movies. The problem with the prequels, well, one of thousands of problems with the prequels, was that they literally would create things for the prequels for the purpose of making toys. So, like, entire characters...
I honestly barely saw any, like, merchandise of any of the side alien races. It mostly just felt like...
There was
more
horrifying
lightsabers.
quantities
there was tons,
of it.
Dude.
There was so
I guess
much.
I do not go to toy stores, apparently.
I remember
enough.
all of the aliens that were in, like, that death pit that they were in one of the prequel movies, like, when they fought a whole bunch of aliens. Every single one of those aliens was a toy.
I mean, that's just one of the downsides of when Star Wars movies comes out, is that when they're new, you don't have to go to a toy store. Any store of any kind, there's just Star Wars stuff everywhere.
I went to a bookstore the other day, and they're selling Minecraft stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Barnes & Noble has been stocking, like, a shit ton of,
and now
like,
there's these things,
toy stuff.
God, what are they called? Pops?
Yeah.
I forget what they are.
Funko Pops.
Funko Pops.
Funko Pops, yeah.
Funko
Shell really
Pops.
wants one of them, but we've never actually, like, found one that's worthwhile, so it's just like, nope. I've also got, like, a Shovel Knight figure and a couple of, like, those Skylanders toys that actually, like, look at least somewhat reasonable.
Like, Funko Pops are literally just, like...
Dumb bobbleheads.
They're bobbleheads designed to be collectible.
Oh, no.
And, yeah, dude. And then they just make, like, limited runs of these things, and then, like, they do things, like, where they put like, they'll release, like, in, like, New York City, like, this one run of Funko Pops, and then it's like, oh, you know, you can then buy from other Funko Pop collectors and stuff like that. Like, they create, like, crazy scarcity, specifically just because they know it'll draw people in.
Poor Americans and our Beanie Baby culture.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of that.
It reminds me of how my mom collected old estate quarters and put them in a big cardboard map that had sockets for old estate quarters when that was a thing, like the collectible estate quarters were coming out. A few years ago, I finally broke it down and, like, got that, like, $12.50 out of there and used it to buy something. Like, what am I gonna do with a map of fucking state quarters? I don't give a shit. Like, she made it for us that we could. She was collecting them while we were teenagers or kids or whatever, so that we could have them when we were older. And I'm like, me as an adult, I'm like, I could use this to buy lunch. So, thanks for those. Thanks for the years of maintaining that stuff, so I could. I mean, buy lunch
that's the thing. Like, the state quarters. It would take you, like, they released one, like, every 3 months or something like that. Like, who's gonna have the attention span to put together one of those calendars?
It's like when someone buys you Beanie Babies. People buy Beanie Babies so that they can be your college fund one day or something. It's like, no.
I knew some people that would do that. I had a relative whose college fund literally, like, for her kids, was literally her investing in limited edition Beanie Babies.
That didn't work out,
and then that bubble popped.
She's still waiting for the price to peak.
Oh, no.
Oh, bad news.
Aren't a lot of those, like, at most, like, worth maybe 2 to 4 times as much as they were back then, at best?
No, some of them are actually worth, like, hundreds to thousands of dollars. but she's never going to sell them because they're going to be worth even more in the future. But the number of buyers is going down. So she's like, she's worried that nobody will buy them. And it's like,
because everyone who cares is going to die or get them.
Yeah.
And then
guess
everyone's
who cares?
stated.
People like you. Are you going to buy any more? She buys more.
No.
Yeah. It's kind of a negative fund. It's pretty bad.
Negative fund.
Did they not
Beanie
realize they
Babies.
literally became the person they were trying to sell these to in the first place? Instead of selling
It's like
them?
Bitcoin, dude.
Jesus Christ.
But, her son went into accounting.
The only people that make money from those sorts of bubbles are the people that, like, cash out, like, early. They get it, they ride the first bubble, they cash out, and then they leave, and then what happens is all the secondary people that are coming in to make money or whatever buy up everything else, and then they hold on to it for forever.
Yeah, here's the
the exact same thing that happened to Bitcoin.
Here's the big secret, is that if there's a special trick to make money and everyone knows about it, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because
my
by the
mother's
time
on,
you get into it, you've already... you are the sucker. You're the product.
My mother is on the grand jury for Massachusetts for, like, the next half a year. She's been there for a while. And a lot of them were, like, large-scale lawsuits where, like, multiple people did, like, a scam or a fraud thing. And they're all more or less all brought on as the government or some company has, like, a class action lawsuit against these people. And so my mother's there. And 90% of the time, these people are, like, dumb shits that are, like, Me Too crimes that saw somebody else doing this thing that did it. And it's just, like, she's sitting there, it's like, I had faith in people, like, making wise decisions in terms of, like, not committing crimes.
Nope.
And yet, here we are. And as you guys talk about this, I'm just like, shit, this just sounds like whenever my mom talks about stuff now.
Dude, it's so prevalent, and it shows itself in so many forms. Okay, I'm not going to talk to your mom.
Just the way, just the thing where something can be culturally accepted as being a mistake, but then you realize, like, oh, we think that because people did it and still do it. Oh no.
Yeah.
No.
It's like YouTubing with the, like, sub for sub or like.
Yeah. Every day we get people saying,
channel.
subscribe to my channel, I'll subscribe to yours. I'm like, neither of us are going to watch those videos, so it literally does nothing. And they act like you're the asshole if you tell them that.
I got 3 requests to do Scrap Mechanic Collab series yesterday, and 1 email about a Vagante series. Most of these people have less than 100 subs. The other one is a makeup channel. I was really confused about that one.
Yeah, that's something to be confused about, actually.
I mean, it's just like 2 videos or something.
You
but
want to
they're
talk
only
about, like, lack of
makeup-related.
faith in humanity. My most recent person I banned on my channel, just because I was frankly just sick of getting emails from their comments. So I was like, they're of no worth. I'll just skip this. Was that they were commenting? What happens? They started watching my series on Invisible Ink contingency program, whatever it's called, contingency plan, I think, the expansion. And the whole thing is that expansion halfway through changes the course of the story in a way that makes the campaign much longer, like probably more than twice as long, actually. And what happened is the guy is commenting like, this guy's an idiot. He's not even doing the right campaign. He fucked up this entire playthrough, like just leaving comments like that. And then he starts commenting in response to every single person's comments he sees, saying stuff like, "Oh, and my character does this," and stuff like that. He's talking like a child that just wants to show off his toys, basically talking about how great his little squad of characters in his campaign is. And he just keeps, like, he skips 10 episodes ahead and is talking about, like, "Oh my god, you're playing the wrong campaign. I can't believe how stupid this guy is." And I'm like, you can't fix people. And, like, it's amazing how dumb a certain percentage of the comments are. And if anyone sees us get snippy at commenters, like, it would be fascinating to just see the type of stuff we deal with sometimes, because these people are fascinating. They're either children or damaged or just don't care.
Dang. Well, on that note, maybe
Yeah.
it is definitely time to end the Hoofcast.
I am hungry. I want food.
Yeah. So, if you want to leave a comment on this one, go ahead and leave it, and Keith will ban you from his YouTube.
I don't ban
mine,
people.
apparently.
I don't ban people consistently.
Nah.
I ban people who say really fucked up racist stuff out of nowhere, and, like, say people that are like immediate, like, oh wow, you're willing to say a comment like that. I don't want you around for the future to see anything else you say in the future.
From what I've heard, like YouTube has basically all but abandoned the report system.
Yeah.
So like, if you want to moderate stuff, it is on you as the channel owner.
Yeah,
I have been getting the same spam from the same like dumb channels for ages, and I'm like, well,
they don't even automate like reported comments anymore. Like it's just straight up like nothing gets taken down if you report things. You could say like people are saying that they've reported like the most racist, vile things, and YouTube will send back automated emails saying like, we see nothing wrong with this comment, but thank you for your diligence for trying to improve YouTube. Like sent like 0 minutes later after the report goes through.
And so, like, some people
YouTube doesn't give a shit about YouTube.
Some people might forget about censorship or something, but like, I just feel like it's my role to try to make the community in the comments not just absolutely toxic all the time. So when people are spouting racist things, or just calling everyone fucking retards and stuff like that, or just leaving a string of comments where I'm like, wow, this person's going to be unredeemable for the future.
This is why we get bitter about commentators.
Yeah, we just go ahead and shadow ban them, and it's easy because it's like, yeah, they'll keep commenting. They think they are still commenting, but no one will ever see their comments, and it's fantastic. So they get to say horrible things to someone and feel good about themselves, and no one has to deal with it. And then everyone else gets to have nice conversations in the videos and move on like normal people for a while.
In very tight moderation, you know. You gotta clamp down on toxicness because it spreads really, really fast.
Oh yeah, almost every large community is just toxic.
The thing is, you gotta accept that people are going to be mad at you if you want to moderate your community.
Yeah.
Like, once you accept that, it becomes oddly freeing in your mind of just like, oh, I don't care if racist people are mad at me.
I just accept that someone will be snippy about it, or someone will talk about the Constitution like it's relevant or something.
Yeah. Freedom of speech, yo.
Yeah.
I read too much legal advice. I don't want to get into that.
Freedom from censorship from the government means that you get to say horrible things to me. No, actually.
Somebody was mad at me for banning him from my Twitch channel because it was infringing on his First Amendment rights, and I'm like, that's not how any of this works.
Dude, that's funny as hell.
I kind of wish he kept it up so I could actually share it, but he's like, you can't ban me. I'm going to get a Twitch admin. You're infringing on my First Amendment rights. And I'm like...
For, like, the context here is what people don't get is that at the end of the day, commenting on someone's YouTube or Twitch channel is only, like, one step removed, basically, from being, like, this is their Facebook page. So, like, they have, like, as far as, like, control goes, they have 100% control over who gets to access that thing at the end of the day, if people are just being shit. Like, you're commenting directly at them, no matter what the context, or if you're commenting on their video, and you might think about it differently, but of course they can stop you from commenting on their profile. It's their profile. That's at the end of the day, that's what it always is. It's their YouTube profile, their Twitch profile. Like, it's theirs.
Yeah,
it's their account they registered.
These sprung from personal accounts. Like, YouTube used to be like basically like a vlogging platform.
Like, they literally have the equivalent of the thing you're using to comment with. That's what you're commenting on them with. That's how all of these sites work. So of course, like, it's like getting blocked on Twitter. Like, get out of my face, buddy. You're out of line, and that's not a reasonable way to talk to me.
The last hour of every podcast they record is always such a fascinating thing. We talk about the randomest things.
Well, we ran out of video games to talk about.
What happens
is
we use a picture of Flanders.
We were going to play Zootopia,
there we go.
and we were also going to talk about our
Zootopia
podcast, but...
Usually what we do is we scare everyone away with anime talk so that we can talk about anything and no one will know.
I should check out the retention stats on these, but whatever. I'm sure it's fine. I'm sure people are watching this to the very, very end, right?
I should put these online.
If you've seen this to the very end, go ahead and leave a comment with the secret password, which is
fart sprinkles.
Excuse me, fart sprinkles.
Fart sprinkles.
There we go.
Yeah,
thank you guys.
I'm gonna have fart sprinkle comments. And I'm gonna forget what that was for too, and I'm just gonna be like, why is everyone leaving this comment? Why is everyone saying fart sprinkles? Oh man,
we should have like a word
A word of the day?
A word of the day thing, yeah. So everyone at least walks away having learned something.
Oh
I'm
my
going to go to
God.
Today's word of the day
dictionary.com.
is... Today's word of the day is fart sprinkles. It's not a word. Don't look it up.
Fart sprinkles. The sprinkles that fly out when now has to fart.
I
don't know why
end the
I
podcast.
quoted
Abort!
the
I'm
King
done.
James Dictionary.
Did you
there.
just look up fart sprinkles on Urban Dictionary?
I don't know. I'm sure it's defined there.
Is it the equivalent of shart sprinkles?
I mean, it's about the same thing. Apparently, fart sprinkles are cupcakes that are farting. That's actually kind of adorable.
What?
Fart sprinkles. The particles of...
It sounds like a death spank monster. Does no one remember death spank?
Bird and I just looked up the actual definition of fart sprinkles, and we
Don't do that. It's a terrible
yeah,
idea.
that wasn't so hot.
You guys have
I'm
terrible
suddenly
ideas.
no longer hungry.
All right,
Which
latest
also
chat.
regret.
Oh, Jesus.
I don't know why Knackles never showed up, but
He
well.
eventually showed up in chat saying, "Oh, I thought it was supposed to be an hour later," because he misread chat, and then he never
That's
joined.
actually fair.
It
well.
happens. Anyway,
Yeah.
guys, thanks for coming to the podcast.
Yeah, see ya.
One day we'll figure out timing and cast and topics.
And a
And
name.
topics.
A name.
I think Koofcast is a fine name.
Oh my
Okay.
God.